Sweet. Rolling. So, you want to see an awesome print? I know you want to see an awesome print. Uncle Jesse's definitely going to want to see this one because he's talked about it, and I'm super thankful that he brought up how awesome of a clear print I was able to pull off by dipping. It's just too cool being able to see your finger through it. By dipping my print, I made this Charizard for my friend Sal, and graciously, thank you Sal for giving it back to me so I can make a video of it. Uncle Jesse made a video of this where he dipped some prints. Thank you so much. I don't know how I stumbled on this technique, and it just works extremely well for me with Siraya Tech Blu. I'm totally new to this. It just works too well. I watched your video, Uncle Jesse. Thank you so much for giving me a shout out and showing the print that I'd made. But it didn't look like you had the success that I had, and really kind of makes me scratch my head because I'm new to this, and I've been watching your videos to learn how to do this stuff. So how it worked for me, I don't know. I'll talk about it today, show you my process, show you the things that I stumbled on, and just try to shut up one more time. Like, I can almost read text through that. Like, I can read my watch through this wing. It's like glass. I can see a little bit of layer shift lines, but it came out so amazing. First thing I ever dipped was this Mandalorian. I've got two cameras here. I'm sorry, I'm new to this YouTube thing, so I've got an old GoPro and the run cam out of my quadcopter. Dipped this Mandalorian, and it's not, I mean, it's almost as glassy, but I hopefully try to explain a few of the things that I did that are different on the Charizard based off of the one other time I've done this technique that made it come out a little bit better. First thing, Siraya Tech Blu. I don't have any experience with another resin. This is the only resin I've ever used. I loaded it up, I did the test print, I did the test rook, 0 issues, and I've just been buying it ever since because it's super strong. When I first got into resin printing, I thought it was going to be brittle or fragile parts because I want to make a lot of mechanical pieces. The blue works great. Super confusing though because the product line is blue, the color isn't blue. This is emerald. They have clear obsidian and nylon. Find some non-dipped prints. Here is the Charizard. Here's a non-dipped version because I had a print failure as I was learning about the settings. His little jaw, so we'll just blur that out. His jaw and a leg failed, and so this print was, going to be the exact one. So I had to change the support settings a little bit, but you can see them side by side. Try to get in close here. Look how clear that wing is. It's nuts. You can see, because these I had a lot of trouble printing this part, and it took me several attempts to get this made for Sal because he has a big old fat chunky body and like wings that were in some places when I was inspecting layers like 4 pixels wide. So it's a little bit optimistic and fortunate that I even got it to print at once. But this Siraya Tech Blu is pretty translucent and very clear looking. Got a little stuff on his belly even before being dipped, so maybe the success with this is coming from this resin being a little bit more clear. Very first print I ever made, the rook everyone makes, which is very interesting. Maybe someone smarter than me can explain. Here we go. I'm super addicted to printing these Kaijumon that Becca 3D makes. Like, this is Venusaur. It's like ultra detailed, and I'm blowing through all of my resin just because I have to make all of them. They're super sweet. But this is the exact same resin. Look at the color difference. God, I gotta set this guy down. If I drop this, Sal would be less than happy with me. Look at the color difference with this. Maybe someone could explain that to me, why it slowly turns more blue. Just kind of cool. All my drone parts that I've 3D printed are like super blue, and then when they're fresh off the printer, they're green. But I can see through this. It's actually kind of difficult to see the details in these prints, even because these Becca 3D's prints are so highly detailed. But you can't, maybe the Siraya Tech resin is almost translucent enough already that you kind of have to move it with the light to get it to refract a little bit different and see the details. So it's pretty clear to start with. So maybe just by my dumb luck, I started with the best resin possible for dipping clear prints in. There's a couple things I really want to point out that I've learned from doing 2 of these. Highly experienced. This was the first one. This Mandalorian. I used my barbecue skewer. Watched too much QAV futures. Point to stuff. You can see at the bottom, and I may not be capturing this on video at all. I won't know until I look at it. But I dipped him, hot glued him to a stick, dipped him, and then just let it sit out to dry. The resin, the dip, and I'll show that in a second, is super thick, so it kind of pools on him a little bit. So maybe this hand is the easier way to say. You can see it has like a yellow. So I was prepared. It's like a yellow color to it behind, like where as the coating was just kind of like gonna have a drop and pull off. So the bottom of his chin, a little bit on the gun. There's some spots that aren't coated where you can see where the hands are holding it. Maybe on the bottom on his boots, there's a little bit of yellowing, and that's what I was really trying to avoid when I did the Charizard by using canned air. I was just lightly just hitting the little spots where there was a drip and knocking the drips off, and then a little bit into just waiting on the drips to come down. I actually realized it was almost easier just with my gloved hand to just touch all these drips, and it would just wick away onto your finger, and I ended up having a lot less of like the little bit of pooled spots on the fingers or the lower parts that were dripping. On this Charizard, all the places I had to like really watch for was there's a big drip on the hand. The mouth was full, so I definitely used a little bit more canned air because I didn't want to lose all of the teeth. Bottom of the wings, I blew the points off right there. The tail drained nicely. This foot here had a rotate, had a drip on it, and really I just sit there for just a minute or two, just touching little points, wicking them off, and then I blew canned air kind of in his mouth so that the teeth would show, and then just touching it when wiping his chin. And then after a few minutes I realized like it looked so dang good, I was more likely to knock it over into the dust in the garage than I was anything else. So I've used two different coatings. This Deft Clearwood finish. So far, I got some still shots. Hopefully, I can put those in. Home Depot, like $17 for the quart, so not cheap, but goes quite a bit. Somewhere. For this Charizard, I used exactly on this Charizard to get this finish was the Bear Premium Fast Drying oil-based polyurethane. Didn't intentionally buy polyurethane. Not saying polyurethane is better. They were out of gloss in the Deft because this is what I went there to buy. They didn't have it. They had semi-gloss, satin, and matte, of course, but they didn't have any gloss of the Deft. But they did have Bear, and I think it was because the Bear was like $1 more, so that's probably why. But this is what I used. It's oil-based, gloss, and it's polyurethane. I didn't really. This one is a lacquer that I used on the Mandalorian. Gloss polyurethane. Not about to begin to say what the difference is between those, but this is exactly what I used. And I mean, the results are good. You can read text to it. I'm gonna try to show what I did. I'm gonna dip this rook. Going to dip the failed print, so hopefully I can show like we get the exact same glossy results just on a failed print, no jaw, a little bitty weak leg. Got a little medallion here, making some make handfuls of beer taps, and this is going to be a medallion. I put in one for a friend of mine's homebrew happy hour channel, and also got the swole baby Yoda, hilarious. Going to try to dip him and see how he looks today too. So hopefully you can see. And this print's a little bit older, so you can kind of see like at the ears where it's thinner, that color's turning blue. And maybe the internal resin in the center, it's going to take more time. He's not as green as these fresher prints, but not as blue as the Rook, which I've had for a while. Also another one, I'm going to dip one back at 3D's prints, this tiny little Dratini. Sweet. He's going to be like, I want to like use him as my Monopoly piece or something like that. Like, and I think he's got a lot of smooth surfaces, not like scales, so I think he would look pretty cool, glossy. So try to dip those here today and see how they come out. I did buy a gallon can because I wanted to buy a gallon. I wish I would have, because hindsight's 2020. Home Depot charges like $8 for the empty gallon can. It's a highway robbery. So that was pretty dumb of me to pay $8 for an empty can, but I've already done it. It's nice because the opening is bigger. You would never get this baby Yoda in there, but with gallon can I'll be able to do, and this should be a little easier to navigate stuff, and even just with the gloved hands, dunk stuff and be done with it. Super easy. I did sand the Charizard slightly. I think when I first pull them out, all I do, usually I did a full wash and cure, and I took an X-Acto knife, cut all the supports off, tried to minimize the nubs, and I think I used 3M for like one of these 3M pads for like a second, and then realized that wasn't really getting anywhere and just carried on with life, because I get most of the time on my 3D print settings, I call it pickling, because on top of the supports, I guess I'm just not putting them dense enough. Kind of looks like the skin of pickles, and they're kind of like the surface is raised, but everywhere the support touched, it kind of has a little dimple like a pickle. That went completely away when I dipped the Charizard, so I'm liking this technique already because very little work. Just take red Solo cups because you want the excess to drip off. So I had a couple red Solo cups handy. Aziz, light. Alright. The stuff is like super brown. I'm not going to try to make too much of a mess showing it, but it is the color of, say, honey. So that totally explains why the pools kind of have a brown color, get yellow. So we're going to try to avoid all of that. Rook next, because it's got this little hole through it, and it's going to hold a ton. Dipped. Super precise. You just gotta like throw it in there. Already looks way more like glass. That one's gonna need a little bit of canned air because I can already see at the top it's just gonna pool and not drip off. Here is the Swole Baby Yoda. I do not remember where I got this STL. I'll just share it, but you can see it's just what I paint on with my hands because my fingers are coated. Already makes them look pretty sweet. Oh no, light. Dumped and dropped so much on him that he's coated. Just gotta get a hold of him at his feet so that fingerprints are minimized. Shaking, yeah, whatever. Moving on. He's gonna alright, everyone's here to see. This is the Charizard, same as before. Going to dip him and then set him in the cardboard. I'm going to cover the can and then I'm going to try to show how I dealt with the drips on this guy. Rotate him around. He's been fully submerged. I'm going to try to pull him out by the gimp foot since it's already a bad print. Logical place. Alright, yeah. I made a proper mess in here. Alright. He's good. May be really hard to see, but man, at the tips of those wings are some big drips. So what I'd use the canned air for was just like about the force of a baby's cough. Drip. 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 The teeth. This foot. Doesn't really matter doing the teeth, jaw's busted anyways. That's about all I can do. I'll never be able to get that any better. But Charizard, I'm just gonna touch and those drops just kind of wick away and things look better. Sweet. I was so worried that this would be like completely different dipping it this time and it'd look way different. Just gonna do this for a couple minutes, so probably cut this out, but it's really good. Don't know what else to show you. This is kind of it. So hopefully, Uncle Jesse, maybe it's either the super thick coating I'm putting on. The Siraya Tech resin's already super clear. Maybe I'm just, idiot's luck. Worked. We'll see how these come out in the morning. Uncle Jesse, thank you so much for looking at my video, seeing my cool print where it showed how I'm dipping. But please try it again. These prints are just coming out too clear, and I can't be the only one who's doing this. It's just too easy, I thought.